we're gonna get started. Thank you so much for thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our 2023 Insider Insights events. Feel free. This is not a classroom as much as it feels like it. Feel free to get up, get coffee, get water throughout. But so thrilled to have you all here for first this celebration of the 2022 Seattle Commute Survey and the incredible work that the employee transportation coordinators of Seattle did to help get it out to 64,000 people. And it's a moment for you all to get to dive into these findings and connect with each other, because we can't do this work to change how people get around Seattle without you. So thank you all so much for being here. And we're really incredibly fortunate to be hosted in this beautiful building and have gone in an incredible tour, if you all went on it, by the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. And so we're lucky to be hosted by the Community Relations Manager for Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, who's going to give us a welcome to this space and share a little bit more about why transportation is so critical to this organization. So first, let me introduce Rebecca Bryant, Community Relations Manager for Fred Hutchinson.
Thanks, Kirk. So I actually have a much easier job than Kirk described. I'm just going to set the stage for where we are at Fred Hutch, and then I'm going to actually turn it over to one of my bosses to talk about why transportation is important. So again, Rebecca Bryant, Community Relations Manager here at the Fred Hutch Cancer Center. A little bit of background, because unfortunately, I would hope that none of you knew anyone who'd been treated for cancer, but that is just not the reality we live in. So Fred Hutch, the Cancer Research Center, was founded in 1975 here in Seattle. Did groundbreaking research, came up with how to conduct bone marrow transplantation, has been a leader in immunotherapy, HIV research, and in the early 2000s, we joined with, and I think we have the UW folks here today, so we joined with UW and Seattle Children's to create the Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. So SCCA was on our campus for about 20 years, and in 2021, we decided that it was very important to get the research that is done in this building, other buildings on our campus, to get it closer to that patient bedside. So we actually restructured things and went from that much longer name, the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. We are now the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. And again, it's now that wonderful continuum of the research bench to the patient bedside, getting cures to patients faster. So with that, it's my team's job to help Fred Hutch be an engaged, civically active employer. And part of that is obviously transportation. So I'm going to turn it over to my boss, Jeff West, our vice president, to talk a little bit about our transportation ecosystem and our role in that.
For us. I really appreciate that. So Kirk, thank you. Thanks to Commute Seattle for being here. My role, I'm not really one of Rebecca's bosses. My role here is Vice President of Facilities and Campus Operations. So what that involves is the operation of the building you're sitting in here, new construction, transportation, parking, and Lisa Van Olman, who runs that group for us, her favorite department, which is the copy center. Yes, we do have a copy center. So new construction, real estate deals, things of that sort all fall into my group. So it's a pretty cool place to be, especially right now. Most of you are probably aware we received a couple of gifts middle of last year, totaling roughly $800 million, $79 million from Stuart and Molly Sloan to build a new precision oncology institute, which will go up literally across the street from our existing clinic. We're pretty excited about that. And the Bezos family provided another gift of $710.5 million, I believe is the exact number. And that money is earmarked for research, some new construction, and recruiting in terms of bringing new and exciting researchers here to Seattle. So it's a crazy privilege to be involved here. I always like to say that I grew up in Seattle. Fred Hutch went to my high school, or I went to high school, Franklin. And my mom grew up in Rainier Beach a million years ago. Her family doctor was the Hutch dad. So Bill and Fred's dad was the family doctor for my mom's family, which I think is always kind of cool. So transportation, going back, throwback Thursday, the counterbalance, which is the cable car that used to run up Queen Anne Hill. Some of the old Seattle folks know that. So today, our big interest here is keeping, East Lake and Fairview has, right? Our big interest is getting our employees on campus, lots of parking for our patients and for our employees and our doctors who are giving that care. So this is a really important topic for us, where everybody's headed, all the partners involved in Commute Seattle. If we build a new building, how do we keep these streets open during, the sewer pipe replacement here on East Lake and the J Line project on Fairview? These are huge topics for us right now with the city. How can we be good partners with the city to improve access to public transportation while continuing our mission? And these are the big things that we're concerned about. That's why Rebecca's team is so important to what we do on the facility side of things. But it's just a real privilege to be affiliated with this organization, and it's great to be in this city. I'm interested to see what we do next in transportation. I'm old enough to remember when the bus tunnel went in. Super awesome, right? And when they were building I-90. So it's a bit crazy around here for me. But we're excited to have you here. And with that, I'll turn you over to you. And thanks for letting me say hello. Welcome.
Thank you so much. No, it's incredible to have a leader on transportation like Fred Hutch here and be able to host it here at a site that is one that is affected by the commute trip reduction law, has a transportation management plan, is really not only meeting those standards, but exceeding and making this a place where people want to work and really showing that it's a place that is retaining and recruiting the top talent in the region and in the world. So first, I want to thank everyone for being here and just want to give you a little just oversight. One, we got to welcome Rebecca Bryant and Jeff West. Today, I just want to give you a deep dive into the survey findings that you all helped reveal and really dive into the stories that came out of the survey. But after that, I want to talk about your individual findings and the meaning behind that and what you can do with those findings. And then most importantly, we have three incredible folks here who are leaders in transportation in Seattle. We're going to share the stories of their work sites and how they are rising to the moment and have supported their employees, their staff, and helped make Seattle a more affordable, sustainable, and connected place in the jobs that they do every single day. So we're thrilled to be joined by representatives from Foster Home and Village, Magnuson Clement Architects, and Seattle Art Museum to share their stories. And then, most important, you all get to connect with each other. We're gonna have a reception out back, looking out over the water. Hopefully the sun stays out for that, so we can all watch some seaplanes, watch some boats go by, really connect with each other and share strategies and talk about how we can further this work. So real fast, I want to once again thank Fred Hutch for hosting us here. But so quick show of hands, who is this their first Commute Seattle event? That's impressive. One, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you don't know Commute Seattle, we are the nonprofit that works to make it easy to walk, bike, ride, and roll for the 600,000 people who go to work or school in Seattle every single day. Our organization has been doing this work for over 15 years, and we do this work by partnering with you all, by partnering with employees or employers and property managers to help make our city more affordable, sustainable, and connected. We do that by helping employers provide transit passes to their employees, no matter what size they are, from Molly Moons to some of the largest employers in the region. We also work with property managers to build world-class bike facilities that make it easy to get to our work sites by e-bikes or family cargo bikes. And we're able to do that because of the 8 incredible staff that we have in our organization. That's Kendall Bielen, Zarina Infante, Priya Balan, Tara Peters, Noah On, Kurt Winter, and I think Bethany. There's a reason why I didn't bring that up, but and Bethany go. Our staff work every day. There are 8 transportation experts who help make this possible. And our organization is a shared investment in Seattle. We have been doing this work for 15 years, and we're invested by the Seattle Department of Transportation, King County Metro, Sound Transit, and the Downtown Seattle Association as a public-private partnership that is meant to help make it easier to reach Seattle from across the region and retain and recruit top talent. And this work is key because in Seattle, we have really key policies that help shape how we get around and get to destinations, whether for work or school. In our city, we have transportation management plans where buildings, when they're built, have to commit to do work that makes it easy to get to those places by walking, biking, and the bus in perpetuity. We also are in Washington State that has a commute trip reduction law that many of you all are familiar with that requires employees with over 100 employees to actively work to make it easy to walk, bike, ride, and roll, and make a good faith effort to shape how people get around and encourage them not to drive alone. These are key tools in how we do this work. Both of those policies help us shape how people get around. And we do this by not only helping employers and properties comply with those regulations, but by working with trusted community partners to help reach the 600,000 people who come to work or school in Seattle every day and shape how they get around, not just for those home to work trips, but for those other key trips to grocery stores, healthcare, and school pickup and drop off. And one of the key ways that we shape how we do this work is by understanding how people get around, which leads me to an incredible partnership that we had with the Seattle Department of Transportation, the University of Washington's Mobility Innovation Center, Challenge Seattle, and every employee transportation coordinator and building transportation coordinator in this room. One quick show of hands, who is an employee transportation coordinator or building transportation coordinator in the room? Fantastic. First, thank you all for being here. And thanks for sharing the 2022 Seattle Commute Survey with your employees. This survey was a brand new approach to addressing two different surveys that we would do in Seattle. First, the commute trip reduction and transportation management plans require employees to survey how their employees or attendance employees get around. We would supplement that since 2010 with the Center City Mode Split survey that really looked at how people who work at small businesses got around. But after the pandemic, we really saw there was this key moment, and it was led by Kendall Bielen and Olivia Holden, two Commute Seattle staff, with Bart Treese, the head of the Mobility Innovation Center, who joins us today, to really look at how could we go look at the people beyond the percentages right now and look at what are the needs post-pandemic of how people are getting around and better understand what is driving their behaviors, especially at this key moment. So we got to develop a new partnership with them to redesign the survey, to ask better questions, and also to make it easier for you all employee transportation coordinators to administer it, to distribute it. We heard loud and clear from you that you wanted an easier way to get this into people's hands and to get this data. And so we got to work with a team at the University of Washington to reshape that survey and provide this information in a way that is more actionable for you all. So real fast, those folks who are employee transportation coordinators, can you raise your hands again? I want everyone in the room to thank this group, because together, you helped get this survey out to 64,000 people across the region. That's more than 1 in 10 people who work in the city of Seattle. And imagine Lumen Field, packed to the gills with people yelling and screaming for transit. That's how many people took this survey. And it's a survey that isn't done at this scale anywhere else in the country, which is incredibly powerful and gives us insights that no one else in the region has. And I just want to share some of these insights of how we get around in this region and what it means for our work. First, when we look at how we get around today, the survey revealed that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are totally different days than Mondays and Fridays. And for any of you who are going around downtown, this is obvious to you all. We see that about 52% and 57% of people remote work on Mondays and Fridays. That drops to about 39 and 40% on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We see that this hump in the middle of the week is when we have the most amount of people walking, biking, taking transit, and fewer people remote working. The survey that we designed with the University of Washington not only surveyed the center city like we had done for the past 10 years, but we also got to look at how people got to work sites in places across the city outside of downtown in the center city. And really some unique trends emerged from that we've never been able to see before. We saw that outside the center city, we have a lot more people driving alone to work and a lot fewer people remote working to work sites in Northgate, in SoDo, on Beacon Hill. But when you look at the center city, you have far more people remote working and far more people taking public transit. It's this difference between work sites in the center city and outside the center city that helps give everyone in this room and us as an organization more insight in how we approach those work sites and how we make it easier to get to those destinations. But everyone has asked us, so if you have half of people remote working in Seattle on Mondays and Fridays, why are traffic volumes similar to how they are in 2019? Why is traffic still so bad? And that's because with this survey, we got to ask more about how people get to those other regular destinations that they take, to healthcare, to school pickup and drop off, and to grocery. And on average, 75% of the way that people get to those destinations is by driving alone. For us as an organization, that highlights that if we're going to make Seattle an affordable and sustainable place to get around, we need to make transit, biking, and walking work for these trips that you can't remote work to, and ones that make up the bulk of the trips that we take within a week. Only 20% of the trips that we take in the average week are from home to work. These are the rest of the trips, and we need to be able to shape these if we're going to make it easy to get around Seattle by walking, biking, the bus. Another key insight that really we were able to delve out of the survey is how people's incomes shape how they get around. And one thing that jumped out to us is that the higher your income, the more likely you were to remote work. And this was fascinating because it's a flip from what we had seen before the pandemic. In Seattle, if you had a higher income, you were more likely to take public transit than people with lower incomes. Now we see that the higher your income, the more likely you are to remote work. And so really it's a message to us is how do we maintain key investments in transit service, but also how do we win back higher income riders onto our transit service? Or how do we meet them where they are for their trips to encourage them not to drive alone? Also, something that is obvious to anyone who has a child, but the impact that childcare has on how we get around the city. Our survey revealed that if you have a child, you're far more likely to drive alone to work and also far more likely to drive alone to other destinations. And when we asked people why they drove to work, the third highest reason behind getting from A to B as quickly as they can and the convenience of a car was childcare obligations. If we can make getting to daycares and getting to schools easy by walking, biking, or transit, whether that's through better e-bike parking for family e-bikes or providing better walks to transit stops near schools or providing more daycare centers in employers and in properties that make it so you only have to commute to one destination. Those are the ways we're going to help make it so people don't have to drive alone to drop their kids off. And one major takeaway was how where we live is connected to how we get around. We asked people what types of housing they live in, whether it's single detached housing, a townhome, or an apartment. And something that was revealed to the data is that if you live in an apartment or a condo, you're much more likely to take public transit, much less likely to remote work. And I think if you live in an apartment or a condo like I do, you realize you don't have a den, you don't have another place to have an in-home office. And also you're more likely to be located next to a transit-rich neighborhood or near a sidewalk network that allows you to take transit to work. And finally, we're a behavior change organization. We're not a survey organization. So what was key to us is to understand what motivates people and how we can shape that. And really, once again, obvious fact to all of us, but the top 3 reasons why people choose to get around the way they do is they want to get from A to B as quickly as they can. They want the flexibility and convenience of being able to do multiple trips at once, and they want something that's affordable. And so for us as an organization and in all of our work together, it's how do we really hone in on these messages that resonate with people? And that means how do we help make transit more fast, frequent, and reliable? How do we make it easier for people to bike to destinations across the city? And also, how do we make sure that we get more subsidized transit passes into the hands of people across the region? And those are some of the insights from the city data. But what does this mean to us? What does it mean to the people in the room? And I think what's critical is that while we have incredible staff at Commute Seattle, we need employee transportation coordinators' help. We can't shape the insides of your workplaces. We can't shape the behavior of your employees, and that's why we need your help. We want to partner with you to be able to provide you with the information to help make really strong cases, develop programs at your workplaces that help make it easy for people to walk, bike, and take the bus. And which it's why it's a key for us to take the survey data that we had, and because you all collected it at your work sites, we have workplace by workplace data of how people who work at the 275 commute trip reduction affected employers across the city, how they get around. And knowing that level of data is something that people don't have anywhere else in the country. And so it's going to take the folks in this room to figure out how we take the data and the stories that we have in these commuter insights reports that you can collect right over there if you haven't, or check your inbox. It's definitely there waiting for you, to be able to shape the programs at your employer or the programs at your property, or really to shape your messaging as an organization. And so one, I need to give first a shout out to Kurt Winter, who helped design these reports from the ground up and create them into something that can shape how people develop their programs at their employers. So really, my 3 asks of you today are: first, pick up your Commuter Insights report. This has information on how your employees get around today, how they got around before the pandemic, and what motivates them. Like I said, no one else in the country has this level of data that you do. 2, connect with us. Reach out to a Commute Seattle employee, go to commuteseattle.com, go to my Calendly page, schedule a consultation with us. Few other cities in the country have the resource of Commute Seattle and have transportation experts who, for free, will meet with you and have a consultation with you and help you develop a plan for your work site. It's a huge benefit from the Seattle Department of Transportation, King County Metro, Downtown Seattle Association, Sound Transit, that have invested in this organization. And then finally, once you have that consultation and meeting with us, let's develop a plan to take this to your senior leadership and take this to folks at your organizations who can have huge impacts in your organization and help shape these programs and shape budgets that will make it easy for the people who go to your workplace every single day to find ways to get there by walking and biking the bus. And if the folks that are in this room, together we represent over 200,000 people who go to work or school in Seattle every day. If we can get us to help to do this work, we're going to make Seattle a more affordable and sustainable place and help reach our community's climate goals and our community's goals to make this place a more accessible and inclusive place. So one, that's enough of me. We have 3 folks here today who are doing just that, who have been leaders in their workplaces in the community to shape how people get around. So one, I'm going to cede the floor, and really it's such a joy to get to feature 3 very different types of workplaces: Foss Home and Village, Seattle Art Museum, and Magnus and Klimatic Architects, to share their stories of how they're influencing their employees. And one, I hope you all can stick around to continue to share your stories at the reception afterwards. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce Andrew, who's going to share a little bit more about their story at Foss Home and Village.
Welcome, or thank you for having me. My name is Andrew Dolan. Whoops, wrong way. I am the HR director for Foss Home and Village. Foss Home and Village is a not-for-profit nursing home in kind of the Greenwood, right off of Greenwood Avenue, a little north of Ballard, that area. We are a post-acute rehab, assisted living, long-term care, and we also offer memory support. This is our facility. It's approximately 10 acres. And we also own 11 residential houses. If you can kind of see, we bought these houses mainly for parking, just because Seattle, it's tough to find parking everywhere. But we were also going to expand the campus and everything. And so that's one of the big reasons we bought all of these houses. It was probably 15 years ago. We have 2 employees that live in 2 of the houses, and the other houses are rented out by just other individuals. Right. All right. So, little star, that is Foss. We offer the traditional bus passes. We really highly encourage our workers to bike, to walk. We offer showers. We have lockers. We have several parking areas, but one of the biggest things is 40% of our employees actually live within a mile, and which is pretty remarkable. FOSS was founded in 1929, and we are just that community nursing home in the neighborhood that everybody drives by, and just in the middle of a bunch of neighborhoods. And so every summer we do farmers markets and fairs and just kind of bring the community to us. And I feel like that's how we found a lot of our employees. They went to high school across the street. We have 2 elementary schools within a block. We have a high school about 3 blocks away. A lot of our employees started out as summer workers after high school, and they've been with us for 20 years now. And that's one of the really cool things about FOSS is we are a family. We really are involved with our community. And I feel like people want to be involved with FOSS, and it really kind of shows a lot where most of our employees, approximately 60% of our employees, kind of live in this region, which is pretty crazy because just a nursing home, we're essential workers. We have to be at work. So unfortunately, we can't telework, can't do that. And just the recruiting aspect of finding nurses and nursing assistants, it's very tough. And the fact that we still have close to 60% of our employees that live within this region says a lot. And I think another reason why we kind of have, so I think we have, what was it, 11% of our employees walk to work, which is quite good. But we also have 2 community colleges that we recruit that are about a mile away. And so we are very involved with recruiting local community colleges and bringing those nursing assistants and those employers to us. I'm not saying I don't recruit down in Tacoma or downtown, but why not recruit someone that probably lives close to the community college that they're working at? And so that's one of the things that our HR department really is involved with, is recruiting our local community college and our local employees, our local residents. Another big thing is we are right off of Aurora, is about a block away, which is the line. I didn't add it, but the D line is about half a mile south. But Route 5 is right there. Right. Yeah. And we also have a lot of apartments close to us, which is very good. And I just wanted to give a commuter spotlight. This is Miss Dina. She's been at FOSS for approximately 25 years. She works 4 days a week. She cuts all of our residents' hairs, and she's never driven to work a day in her life. She walks every day, and she is 90 years young. So that's FOSS, and that's me. So thank you.
One, I'd be remiss if I didn't get to highlight that the 3 folks that we're highlighting today and employers have one thing that's remarkable about them, whether it's an incredibly high walk to work mode share, or an incredibly high transit mode share, or a really high bike to work mode share. And really them getting to share the story of how they get around is key to them here. And we're really excited to have Magnus and Klemetic Associates and Jane Van Cleek join us today to share a little bit more about how they're making their worksite more accessible and inclusive. So I'll let you take the floor, Jane.
Thank you so much. Next slide. There we go. I'm Jane Van Cleek. I'm the office manager for Magnus and Klemetic Associates. So first off, who are we? MK is a 103-year-old structural and civil engineering firm that spans 13 different market sectors, 16 different technical areas. We have projects in 48 states, 62 countries, and counting. We pride ourselves on innovation and know that we are better together. And if it can be done, MK can do it. So some local project highlights in years past. The Kingdom was us. More recently, the Amazon Spheres, also us. Rainier Square and the Rainier Square development, including the longest BMU boom arm in the world.
that spans an entire city block. And being built right now, concept photo is the new waterfront Seattle Aquarium Oceans Pavilion. So we have our pies in a lot of places. Staffing wise, we have a small satellite office in Chicago that has 7 people, but most of our 195 employees are here in our Seattle office, which is in the Rainier Tower building that we did the structural engineering on back in 1978. So we have a long history in Seattle. Why in person? Being in person is really important to us. We really do believe that we are better together. And so when we were thinking about that, we make it a priority. We recognize as our staff at our 102 party, your party, the ability to design some of the most creative and cutting edge and beautiful buildings is directly the product of the skills and knowledge of these people. And how we pass that knowledge on happens best when we're together. To help this, we foster this work. We had planned an office renovation that was going to start in June of 2020, and you can all guess what happened to that. It got put on hold, but we weren't going to be held back, and so we resumed design process, tweaked some things, and began construction in December of 2021. We took it down to the studs and redid the entirety of it. The design was really focused to make our office a representation of the world-class organization that we are, and also to make it a space that employees would want to come to and be in. So we prioritized the spots where we have our most beautiful views to be the common area spaces, such as the kitchen and cafe, and they are well used and well loved to this day. When beginning our return to office plan, we spent a lot of time discussing the ways to make the staff the most comfortable and how to encourage them to use other modes of transit other than driving alone. Taking the path of if you build it, they will come. We changed our Orca Business Passport program, which used to be halfway subsidized, to be fully subsidized. So we pay for everything and the employee pays for nothing. During the pandemic, we also created a temporary bike room when the building facilities were closed, so that our bike commuters could still come into work and have a changing space. I'm happy to say that our building has now opened our fabulous new bike cage, and it has an easy access ramp and a locker room with towel service, which is lovely, and it's well used and loved by our staff. Another change we made is we had 3 company cars previously, and we got rid of them. They were just sitting in a parking garage downtown gathering dust. What we decided to do instead was to offer any employee that doesn't drive to work the ability to expense an Uber or a Lyft to go to a doctor's appointment, a business meeting across town, or a site visit. I don't have numbers tracking that. And the reason I don't have numbers tracking that is it's not something that we financially would ever be on the chopping block. So why have our accounting team spend time tracking it if we're never going to cut it and take it away from our employees? Because our office is located in the commercial core of downtown, there are some factors outside of our control that actually assist us in our efforts and our results of how people get to work. So thanks to FDOT for a bunch of new bike lanes, protected bike lanes. Our bike commuters love them. Can we have some more, please? So the other thing is parking costs. So our building sets the price for our parking in our building, and they set it high. So it's $25 a day as the early bird special, which is a big deterrent. As you can see, for why our staff choose not to drive to work, 28% of them says that it's too expensive to drive and park. So that's a big reason, a big turnoff. Other things to note is we have our subsidized transit pass, 15% said that helped them make the decision. Lower contribution to pollution at 13%, which is exciting. Seems like we have a sustainably focused staff, which is great to hear. So we appreciate that data and knowing that. Let's see here, 8%. So 9% wanted to avoid traffic. 8% wanted to increase physical activity. 8% don't own a car, which was interesting to find out, and I think really speaks to the city's efforts to make transit more accessible to all. 7% stressful to drive. Another interesting one to me was no parking at workplace at 4%. I mean, we're downtown, there's lots of parking downtown, so I would be wondering if we could study somehow the psychology of why people don't think that there's parking when there is, and maybe use that to our advantage down the road. Where do we go from here? So it's important when we look about where we go from here to look at where we've been. So before the pandemic, our rates of transit were 72% of our staff, which is quite a high number, compared to 54% on average right now, which at first glance, the drop in that seems concerning. But when you look at it, the other modes have all had increases. So carpooling is up to 5% from 2%, bike and scooter is up to 7% from 4%, e-bike and e-scooter is up to 3% from 0%. See, ferry is up 4% from 2%, and remote work is up 3% from 0%. So 14% increase in all of those other modes take us up to 68% of people using other options. Looking at the reason why some of our staffs are choosing to drive alone, 2 factors kind of stand out to me and to MKA. One is shorter, faster commute times at 31%, and concern about exposure to crime at 17%. This returns me to my earlier point of if you build it, they will come. So I am hopeful that Sound Transit's efforts in expanding our light rail network will help entice our staff onto transit that they're living in and working, coming from those areas where those stations will now open, so that their commute times will shorten. Another point that I'm hopeful for is getting more bus routes back and increasing frequency. So several of our staff have had their bus routes disappear and not come back. So hopefully that's an effort that can be made to get those bus routes back, and I know it would be appreciated. The other response expressed by our drivers was concern about exposure to crime. And I know that the city, the DSA, and other organizations are partnering together to work on this effort. And we have noticed a marked improvement. I mean, we've been back as soon as we could possibly be back. So we've seen the shift and are appreciative of that, and hopeful that as that work continues, our staff will feel safer downtown and safer to get back on a bus or a train. That's a little bit about MKA, and I hope you found this helpful. So.
You get extra credit for putting your commuter insights reports into your presentation, but it's such an incredible.
We're an engineering firm. We like our data.
Yeah. No, it's such a powerful use case for it. So one, thank you for doing that. And to your point about the concern about crime, one pager that we have over there covers the investments that King County Metro, Sound Transit, and other agencies have made in transit ambassadors on our at our bus stops and interstations and on transit. So if that's a concern for your employees, definitely go check out that one pager, and happy to share it with you to send around. So our final speaker, we get to highlight one local small nonprofit, the Seattle Art Museum, and we're lucky to have Sam Howes here to share more about their record high transit ridership. So Sam, thank you for being here.
All right, well, Kurt, thanks so much for having me, as well as to Commute Seattle and Fred Hutch. So, hey everyone, my name is Sam Howes. I am a public transit commuter. Where are all my Sea Line people? Oh, all right, I got one. Yes, fabulous, love it. So hey, I am the HR and internships program coordinator at the museum. and I also help run our transit benefits program. So a little bit about us. We are a small local nonprofit focused on the arts and culture. Our mission is to bring art to life for our hundreds of thousands of visitors that come through our doors every single day, in addition to our large core of volunteers and our about 250 to 300 active employees that we host throughout the year. In addition to all of the work that we do in our collections and exhibits, we also have public programs that are regularly offered. We have event spaces that people are using at all three of our facilities, as well as libraries and many more activities at the museum. So true to our spirit of an art museum, I'm going to share a little pictures with you. We have 3 different facilities that we operate, all in different locations throughout the city. Our main building is in downtown, right on First Avenue. So this is our largest facility. It's where most of our indoor exhibit spaces are. It's also where the majority of our public transit is actually located. In addition, we also have the Olympic Sculpture Park, which is right in Belltown, a couple blocks north of Pike Place Market. This is an outdoor sculpture park. It's open 24/7, well, not 24/7, but most daylight hours all throughout the year. And then we also have Seattle Asian Art Museum, which is our original facility right in Volunteer Park, just north of Capitol Hill. So a little bit about our public transit around downtown. All of these different colored routes offer a lot of options for people and visitors at the museum to get to our building. So over 45% of our staff commute by public transit as of this survey. We have several nearby light rail stops, which you can see here. So we have the University Street Station entrance right across from our building from 2nd Avenue. In addition, we also have the King Street rail station for the Sounder train, which a couple of our employees use as well. Additionally, we have the Colvin Dock for the water taxi that goes right across to where I live, right in West Seattle, which is great for folks who live out there, as well as the new H line, which runs all the way down to Del Ridge, which is much needed for a lot of our staff to get to work efficiently. Additionally, we have the 10, 11, and 49 bus routes, which are key for our staff who are working up in Volunteer Park to bounce between that building and our downtown location. So for a lot of our on-site security staff who maybe are working an event in one place and then going to their other shift in another building, that route is really, really important for them to get to work. So in addition to all of these routes that we have access to, given our location and that the city has provided for public transit, we also have a lot of on-site facilities that have given us capacity to host folks on public transit in various modes. So Sam is a tenant and owner of our downtown building, which means we have some additional benefits and challenges for staff to access that transit benefit. So driving can be a challenge downtown, as a lot of us know, both due to traffic and because parking is not exactly affordable for a lot of folks. So only about 11% of our staff drive alone to work right now. And as the overall survey data has shown, most of that is on Mondays and Fridays. We do offer some parking at our downtown building and Volunteer Park for employees, but that's usually on an as-needed basis. Most folks are encouraged to use public transit. About 5% of our staff also primarily bike to work. So all of those new protected bike lanes downtown has been a huge benefit to all of our staff. Along with that, we do offer locker rooms and shower facilities for folks who bike to work, which is great for encouraging employees to maybe take that up as a first step towards exploring that as an option for them. On-site bike storage can be a little bit limited where we are, but with one of our partner buildings, RIC, in that kind of complex that we're a part of, they do offer secure bike storage on site for a lot of employees who use that mode of transportation. So as part of our benefits for all of our SAM commuters, we offer a subsidized ORCA card for all of our employees. So we pay half, the employee pays half. Additionally, this year we started offering all of our paid interns ORCA cards. And that provides a lot of equity for folks who are maybe going to school at UW, who are already provided with a fully funded ORCA card. And then for students who maybe aren't provided with that benefit going to other schools. So we wanted that to be a benefit for them as well. In addition to that, we also offer a home free guarantee for a lot of our employees who are part-time, variable, or temporary. So think like our event security staff or art handlers who are only coming in for specific exhibits certain times of the year. Those folks are not eligible for our normal ORCA card benefit, but we do want to provide some flexibility for them in order to get to and from home in case something comes up. So our home free guarantee covers 8 rides a year, fully paid in case they need it for emergencies, family things, childcare, anything that comes up, we want to support them with that. I mentioned also we have some limited discounted parking on an occasional basis only that we provide through our partner building. In addition to all of the facilities and infrastructure that we offer for biking commuters. A large part of our driving reduction over the past couple of years has actually been a result of people working from home. So as an art museum, we have a lot of staff that do have to be on site as an essential part of their role because we have a lot of art in storage that needs to be looked after. We have a lot of security staff or event folks to make our spaces accessible to people. The folks who are working from home are a lot of people who are maybe able to do a lot of the creative work or the content driven work that they're focused on over telecommuting. So a lot of the culture shift that we are trying to instill right now is kind of encouraging a hybrid workplace. So getting events on site to get people together in one room, but also making those accessible by Zoom. So we have had a lot of investment in our infrastructure. We have a recent office remodel, getting new desks and office space for people to come back into the office in person, but also allowing folks who need that flexibility to work from home to do so. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that we have some designated days that are meeting in-person days for a lot of our staff. So with so many different projects and exhibits going on, we want to make sure that people can connect in person and we can start making that transition to a more full-time return to office. So we've designated a couple days on site where we do want folks to meet in person. Right now, those are Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on the department. And I think that is mostly what I have prepared. So thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much. If we can give one more round of applause to Andrew, Jane, and Sam for speaking. I want to recognize that the policies that Andrew talked about recruiting nearby your work site, or Jane's policy of expanding their transit passes to be 100% subsidized, they don't just happen. They need advocates for these great policies that change the lives of people who work at your work sites. One, we can help you out with the data, we can help you out with strategies, but we need your support in advocating for that at your workplaces. So one, thank you all so much for coming here today and diving a bit more into the data. So my 3 asks for you are 4 asks. First, grab your Commuter Insights report. If you don't have it, reach out to us. We'll make sure we get it in your hands. 2, set up a consultation with us. Talk with us about strategies of how you can make change in your organization with this data. And 3, set up a conversation with your senior staff and senior leadership about how important this is to retain and recruit top talent at your organization, but also just to make Seattle a better place. And the 4th option is to join us outside for the reception. One, Fred Hutch has been so gracious in hosting us in this building. We're having a reception out looking over the water and the seaplanes. Most important part of this work is the connection between all of us. We need to work together to make this possible. So before we do that, let me give some thanks. Let me turn it over to Rebecca for one last comment. But first, I want to thank all the Commute Seattle staff for making this event possible. I want to thank our partners at the Seattle Department of Transportation, Ellie Smith and Matt Tresha, who are here with us today. And it's their support that helps make this survey data is something that we can actually work with. We wouldn't have it without the support of those agencies. So Ellie and Matt, thank you for being here today too. And finally, I want to thank Fred Hutch. I want to thank Joan and Lisa and Rebecca and Jeff for hosting us here today. It's just a great spot for us all to connect. So thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us, getting a little nerdy on the data. And Rebecca, do you want to give us one last send? I think. Oh, that's one. Education is the priority. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for joining, and let's go mingle. So thanks.